Hello, beautifully crafted angels, crafted by God, I mean. How are you doing? I missed you. I haven't done this in a while because I'm busy. I've been busy, but I missed you. Today, sadly, I do not have a joint in my hands, which is very painful. It's very painful. Because the thing is, by the way, look at my socks. Look how cute my socks are. They match the background. But yeah, the reason I do not have a joint with me, no, the reason it sucks, it's because when you speak a lot and you have to go through areas of your mind and just it's like it gives me a headache basically. Why is my camera on? I was just okay, that's a little weird. Um anyway, so yeah, it burns my brain basically. So I'm just gonna have to sacrifice my brain for this one. So today I would like to talk about growing up in the hoods. Now, first of all, I know your reaction is like, you, what do you even know about the hoods? I, I mean, I wish I didn't know. I mean, I don't like it. It's traumatized the shit out of me. So you can say that all you want, but I wish I didn't. Okay, I wish I didn't, but I do because well, the thing is, where I grew up, yeah, like where do I even begin with this? I wanted to talk about the fact that I grew up in the hoods because I still feel like it is affecting me today, in many things, in the way people look at me, and perceive me, and the way I translate it. And oh my god, my jacket is making so much noise. Hold on. Much better. I don't know. Something is going on with my hair today. It just isn't hairing. You see, it's fine though. It's fine. I redid my shaved sides, as you can clearly see. This is cute. This is really cute. Yeah. But the reason I want to talk about this is because I've been watching The Wire lately. Lately. I've been watching it over and over again because it's such a good show and I like to analyze, psychoanalyze anything and everything in my life. So when I watch something like this that is so close to my life experiences, but in a totally different part of the world with a totally different mindset and just you know, it's very interesting to me. And it made me look back at my experiences, at growing up in the hoods and shit, and just comparing and just understanding more like the whole situation, you know what I mean? Or understanding on a global scale why people do what they do, why people play the game, if you want to call it that, because people, you usually hear rappers or I don't know, people like that, from the hip hop industry and shit like that, talk about the game, you know. Um, the best example I have of that is if you have ever watched or listened to a podcast episode of No Jumper, which is my favorite podcast of all times. Um, then uh, Sharp is his name. Sharp, that he used to be a pimp, and then he went on software underbelly and had his cameo there, whatever, you know. And then he went on No Jumper to talk about that because if I'm not mistaken, they, I don't know, there's a correlation there, okay, but it's not what this video is about, the correlation. But he talks about how what the game really is, how to actually play the game, to be a part of the game. But he's like prehistoric, because today, prehistoric, I mean, well, he stands for the actual values and beliefs of like the game, you know what I mean? And well, people today, they lost the fucking meaning, bro. Like, they don't even know what this means, right? The game, they don't even know what that means, right? So I want to talk about that, right? Like, also because look at me. Look at me. I do not look like, well, I don't know. I do not look like a person from the hoods, because I was about, like, in my mind, why I stopped, I was just like, well, how does a person from the hoods look like? And then I had so many images of people from the hood, and I was just like, no, I'm not like that. No, that's not me. So it's just like Hannah Montana moment, It's like you get the best of both worlds, but actually not the best, because like, what the fuck was that, Like, the whole fucking 13, 14 years of my life I've been living in a hood, like, So let's talk about that. Let's break it down, okay? Because I've been like spewing a lot of information right now, and let's just like analyze what the fuck I put on the table, right? So I cannot with these socks. These are so cute. I love them. But anyway, it's all started when my dad's family. Another story time. I am no longer in contact with my dad. I look the part. I'm like a walking stereotype. Like, anyway, it all started with his parents migrating from Georgia, like in Europe, to Israel, where I live. And lose all the fucking politics right now, okay? Set them aside, please, because it's not about politics. It's not about any Palestine, Israel shit. I'm just telling you my life story that has actually nothing to do with this, okay? So yeah, they migrated here from Georgia, and well, at the beginning, they had a lot of money, even though they had to like. They couldn't take all their money with them. They were very rich. Very rich. Like, they still are. I'm gonna get to that. They were extremely rich, They grew up, in a sense, like, every story of my grandmom and her, like, siblings and whatever, it's always like, oh yeah, like, we would have, like, designer clothing because her dad was, how do you say it? Like, oh my god, a merchant, and it was like in the communistic era, so like you couldn't just like go and make business, you just couldn't do that because it's a communist regime. So like, you want to create your own business, well, fuck you, you cannot do that. So he actually got sent to prison for that too. But yeah, they had a lot of money, like, and she would always like tell me about like how she always had like the best designer clothing, the best chocolates on Novi God, which is like the New Year's Eve, but like in a Slavic way of celebration, like, yeah. And how like they would take them to like St. Petersburg and like to all of these places, and they would go to like theaters and museums, and they would eat like the best ice cream and shit like that, like, I don't know, things that other people next to them did not have, because it's a communistic regime. So like, everybody buys the same clothes, because the clothes that you can buy are like dictated to you by the government, which clothes are like equal enough for everybody to buy them, so like, yeah, basically. So when they came here to where I live, they couldn't take all of their money with them, but they were still pretty rich. Like, my grandma's father still did a lot of business even here because he had contacts here and shit like that. Whatever, they came from like a very wealthy, very stable background, right? So when they came here, they bought a house. They bought a house in the worst place imaginable. The worst place imaginable, right? At the beginning, they bought a few cute houses here and there, like not like accumulated houses, just like bought this house, lived in it for like a while, sold it, moved to a different, because there was like war and shit like that, and my grandfather had to like fight in a war or whatever. He's like a he used to be, sorry, he's dead. I love you, grandpa. But he used to be like a flight technician for the army in like Georgia, you know. So like he came here and did the same thing. So because of like wars and shit like that, they came into the town that I live in right now, and I've been living in my whole life. Thing is, yeah, like war shit doesn't really affect where I live, thank God. But like there's cultural effects that you don't have any place else. I think, well, perhaps only one place that I can think about, which is Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv is like the worst place on earth. There's like one side that is just like rich and like, ooh, LA, New York type vibe, and then you have like the other side, which is like, I think it's like it's South Tel Aviv, which is like it's you know how I'm gonna make a lot of the Wire references here, so like watch the Wire. You must. So you know how in season 3 this like fucking, I don't know, police major or whatever comes up with this idea of the Amsterdam, which is like a very big area that is far enough from schools and like public places, right? And it's like in kind of like in an abandoned area, like with a lot of like vacant lots, and they just like guided all of the junkies and all of the gangsters and all of the drug traffickers. Well, it's not drug traffickers, it's drug dealers, you know. The traffickers are just like, they are not here, but anyway, drug dealers and like, you know, shit like that, and drug users and whores and whatever, all of those things, right? They moved all of them from just being on the corners of their streets to this specific location that is vacant, which means they're not gonna disturb anyone. It's far away from schools enough that, you know, it's not gonna traumatize any children, even though there were like a lot of children there dealing drugs. But it's kind of like the same thing, basically. They just, you know, North Tel Aviv is just like this amazing LA place or whatever, you know, and like the southern Tel Aviv, it's the Amsterdam from The Wire. That's exactly what it is. Like junkies everywhere, like fucking prostitutes everywhere, like fucking, I'm not even gonna get into that, okay? But yeah, so in my city is known for being a city where you get stabbed. It's been like that forever, you know? Oh, you're from this city? Oh, like, don't stab me, you know? Shit like that, like, because it was, it was like a very crime infested place. I would say it isn't anymore in the way that it used to be. But, you know, the hoods are just the hoods. You cannot run away from what they are, you know, even if you cover it up or whatever, like, you cannot run away from it. So, like, yeah. By the way, look at my nails. This is how you know it's a new era, because I have new nails. This one broke, so I had to make it my own. Look how cute I made it. Like, it just looks the same. I love it. And this is like for the guitar. Cute. I know. So, anyway, I have this problem with shirts like this one that I don't know what the fuck is going on with like the shoulders situation. Perhaps it's because of my scoliosis, but like, damn, like I don't know how it should lay. I don't know. I never knew, ever. But fine, whatever. I don't know why it's upsetting me so much. Because of the composition in the viewfinder, like the composition upsets me. Anyway, because of the war and shit like that, they went here. They came here and they bought a house that was reasonably priced, an apartment, I mean, and it actually was in one of the first ever buildings to be built in this town, basically, you know, which was in that specific neighborhood. And we, in my city, we have a few neighborhoods like that you don't want to go there. Even when it's daylight, you don't want to go there because you don't know what the fuck is gonna happen. Like, you don't know. If you're not armed, don't go there, basically, you know. Which, one of them, I mean, they are kind of like split into groups, like ethnic groups. I feel like, you know, there's places where like it's mostly Ethiopians, and there's places where it's like mostly like Moroccans and like whatever, and there's like, I don't know how to explain this, right? But my neighborhood was mixed as fuck, right? There were Russians, there were Ethiopians, there were Tunisians, there were Moroccans, there were Tripoli people. Like, I say Tripoli people because I don't know how to say it. Like, I know how to say it in my language, but I just don't know how to say it in English. So, I'm sorry. But, like, there were literally Kavkazi people, like, anything and everything you can possibly think about, they were there. But it wasn't, it was the refugees of the society that were just like tossed aside, and they ended up being there. They ended up going there. Why? Because rent was super cheap. You can imagine why. Rent was super cheap because all of the houses were old as fuck, torn up as fuck, fucking trash all over the streets because people are fucking afraid to go clean it. You know how people clean the streets? First of all, nobody gives them enough credit. Nobody tells them hi, hello, how's your morning or whatever, which upsets me in and of itself. But whatever, whatever. That's a completely different rant. But they are afraid of going there to clean the streets because it is terrifying, and they wouldn't know what the fuck is going on. Like, somebody can just like come up to them and like rub them or whatever, like, and they don't even have anything, you know. They were working and cleaning the streets, right? So like, so it's a filthy ass place, if you know what I mean, you know. And the thing is, in hoods, right, in poor neighborhoods, because that's what it is, right? It's about money. It's all about the economy, basically. Like, I feel like people with like certain like I'm thinking about a way to articulate what I want to say. Like, people with like crime tendencies, like tendencies to be involved in crimes, have a very low chance. I mean, if you're not very good at it, you have a very low chance of surviving in our economy. I mean, it's kind of like justified, you know, because like, why would you do crimes, you know? But you know, sometimes people must do crimes because of the economy that fucked them up, you know, because the system is fucked. So it's just like a paradox that has no answer, and I'm not here to answer it. I'm just here to like tell the story. It's too much responsibility. Don't lay that on me. If I wanted that responsibility, I would be a politician, but I'm not doing that. Even though I'm an Aquarius and I'm good at that, I'm not doing that. Sorry. No. So, yeah. And when you don't have a lot of money, you resort to, you know, and you do not want to be homeless, you resort to living in that type of a neighborhood. And in those types of neighborhoods, crime is infested, right? Because I told you, the people who clean the streets are afraid to fucking go there. The police are afraid to go there. Like, I saw like a police car perhaps 3 or 4 times in my entire life living there. And each time it was because someone got shot or stabbed. Yeah. Or they did like a drug raid. Yeah. So they just wouldn't go, But like, so you have no fucking way of feeling safe, right? Even taxis, they don't want to go there. They don't want to go there because when they come back, the police is questioning them. I was told that by a police, a taxi driver that actually picked me up from my dad once there, like, because, like, yeah. So he's like, he told me, like, sometimes, oh, Faison, he told me, like, yeah, like, we don't want to go there. We don't go there usually because, like, when we come back, people are gonna ask us, who did you drop off? Where did you drop them off? What did they look like? What did they tell you? Did they say something? Did they talk with somebody else? Were they alone? Were they with other, like, because all of those people are wanted as fuck, okay? They are wanted as fuck, and, like, the police are afraid to go in. Why? Because all of those people are armed as fuck as well. So, like, that's the only fucking result that they have, like, questioning the taxi drivers, and they stopped going there as well. So, like, and in those types of neighborhoods, right, like I said, people who are kind of like rejected by society live there, right? And my, well, grandma didn't really know that at the time because they just, like, I don't know, it was like reasonably priced, and they bought it, and it was like very central, whatever, right? Right. It's kind of like close to the beach, close. I mean, close. It's like 20 minutes, 25 minutes from the beach. Like, you can walk it. It's not that difficult, That's what I mean by that. And it's very close to, like, the central station. It's like 10 minutes from the central station, maybe 15 minutes, like, very central, right? And it's like a very quiet area, like, has schools in it, right? Has like 3 schools in the neighborhood. One of them were high schools, like religious high schools, for one for girls and one for boys, because it was like the same high school, like, company, the same, like, line, I guess, but it's just like separated because it's like religious or whatever. I actually applied to go there, and they didn't accept me because I'm Russian and my Judaism is questionable. But okay, whatever. I don't give a shit. That's racist as fuck. But, like, whatever. I don't know. And there was a primary school which I went to, which was also religious. Not really religious, but just like traditionally religious. You have to pray in the mornings. They're not gonna. You have to wear skirts as a girl. You have to wear like a hamka as a dude, but as a boy. Sorry, dude, boy, because we were like tiny as fuck. But nothing too major, right? Nothing too major. Like, yeah, we like, if we had like 20 subjects, perhaps 15 of them would be religious, and the other ones would be just, math, language, science, you know, things that the government forced them to do, basically. If the government forced them to teach us, But, like, so bear that in mind, that in this fucking crime-infested neighborhood, there are 3 schools, right? Which, because those people who live there are kind of like rejects of society, they're not gonna be accepted to any other school. They're not, because they're stigmatized. They have a fucking how do you say this, like a cane symbol on their forehead, basically, of like, oh, I came from the crime neighborhood, like, I'm troubled, you cannot trust me, you don't know if I'm gonna stab someone, that's like the stigma. So they had no choice, everybody basically had no choice but just like going to those places, there. Can you chill with that motorcycle? Thank you. Anyway, I never understood why people, um, on purpose, um, give their motorcycles like that. You know, how they like break the, whatever, like to make the um motorcycle sound louder. Like, why would you do that? Like, it's not cool, man. It's not cool. I'm not gonna like take my shirt off, right? I'm actually gonna fucking scream at you. Can you fucking drive away, please? Go, just go. Never come back. I'm so upset. I don't know why I'm this upset right now. Just in general, with no relations to anything. I'm just upset. So, yeah. And when you are rejected by society because you have a tendency to cause crime, and they fucking put you in this crime infested neighborhood, you kind of like resort to doing more crimes. I mean, that's common sense. Here everybody is like the same as I am, so I can just be myself and I can like break the law on a major scale, because the police ain't coming here. The police ain't gonna tell me shit. So I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want. That doesn't sound like a very safe place. It doesn't. And I would, on a daily basis, see, and it's kind of like by areas gets worse. So there's like, when you walk in to the neighborhood, you have actually two entrances, perhaps three entrances, right? You have an entrance that comes from like kind of like the how do you say it, how like there's a junction, yeah, for like to enter a city. So like it's at the very beginning of the city, when you just enter it, the first crosswalk leads you there. From the high road, the first crosswalk to the right leads you fucking there. And the other entrance is from like a synagogue that is just like in like the middle. Like, if this one was to the left, to the far left, the synagogue is like in the middle, and it's just like like on the same street, but it's just like at the end of the street, where it's just like a normal-ish place, not normal, but a normal-ish place, because you know how like in astrology and shit like that, when there's like an astrological event, we still, after it ended, we still like experience some of the like energies, and even before it happens, we already start feeling the changes and whatever. So it's kind of like the same thing, like you can sense around that area, even though it's like kind of like far from the neighborhood itself, it's on the same street, so like when the street ends, there starts the neighborhood, like at the very like end of the street, so at the far beginning, you still feel this like uneasy feeling, and like you see those people who are from that neighborhood, because like who would go to that synagogue? People from that neighborhood, like, obviously, um so yeah. And the other one is from like a different street that is just like on the far right, and it's like the where the school was, where the boys' school was. Like, the far left was where the only girls' school was, and the far right is where the only boys' school was. And you had to pass by those places to just come into the neighborhood. And each area varied in crime. Each area had its own crime, had its own crimes. So in the very like middle, it was mostly drug users, and yeah, it was mainly drug users, nothing else really, because like in that middle area, it was mostly elderly people living there, like people who bought the house like a long time ago, or like people like my grandmom who like immigrated and like they bought the house, oh sorry, they bought the house there because that's what they could afford, right? So oh, sorry. So oh my god, I have a fucking horrifying story, but I'll get to that. I'll get to that. Damn. So it's safe to say that in that area is like livable. It's if you're used to like crime and like low vibrational activity, like it's livable. You know, you're not gonna die, but it's never safe completely. You know, nobody's gonna attack you, but you never know what's gonna happen. You know, like they might not attack you, but there might be like rats climbing next to you, and you like don't realize that until like you know shit like that, you know, scary. Yeah, and like you see people walking next to you, like coming into your building, right? Live in your building, high off their minds, tweaked out their minds. Like when you're just like, I'm afraid of being just next to this person because they could see me as anything right now because they are not in reality. Like they are somewhere else. They could see me as like a fucking angel, as a fucking monster. I don't know, man. I don't know. Like I don't want to know. The far left is where I used to live with my mom. Now, thing is, my mom is also an immigrant, and she immigrated from Ukraine. And well, when she had me, when I was conceived, she was 16. And she was a troubled teen because she was like beat at home because, you know, Soviet parents, they're not the warmest, fuzziest people, you know. They are fucking horrifying and horrible. And they think it's the best, but it fucking isn't, you know. It's just, yeah. Her stepfather, I'm not gonna call him my grandpa because he never was. He was just my mom's stepfather, you know, even though for her, he's like her father because the real father, you know, Slavic families, you know, it's not where love is at. Basically, it's not where stability is at. No. No. So he would be like the type of person to like work at like a psychiatric facility and like beat the patients. Like he was this evil. Well, he kind of like got what he deserved because when I was like 8, he got like a brain aneurysm, and he's like since then paralyzed in his right side, since like completely paralyzed, and like slay, like you deserve that, bitch. Like after all that, my mom went to take care of him because all of the rest of the family just abandoned him like that. Like his wife, like my grandmom, like from my mom's side, they just like divorced him and just fucking went to like started dating and going to parties like a grandmom, but you know, and she didn't give a fuck. And my aunt, like my mom's like little sister, she went to university. She had a dog, and she didn't have enough time for that, right? And my mom's little brother, he was fucking traumatized as fuck by this man, so he was like, nah, I ain't going there, like that's fucked, you know. I ain't helping that bitch, you know. So my mom was like, I'm gonna be the bigger person, and I'm gonna help a person who is, you know, has nothing, you know, basically. Which, you know, it's very adorable, like in the perception, you know, the when you perceive something in that way, it's adorable, I must say. So they kicked her out when she was like 13, and like she went to like a boarding school and whatever, and then she came back home, and they kicked her out again. And when they kicked her out again, and she like went through all the troubled teen stuff, right? Drugs and like whatever, you know, like teen stuff, like troubled teen stuff. Who does shit like that? Troubled teens, most of the time. Why? Because they're super impressionable. Somebody's gonna come up to you and be like, what if I told you you can make 1,000 shekels a day. Wouldn't you be like, I'm listening? Because you literally have nothing else. You don't even have a place of your own to live in. Like, of course you're gonna be taking that option. Like, that's all you have fucking left, you know? And that is the fucking problem with these neighborhoods, because these are just concentrated places with people who have nothing to lose. They lost their lives to be there. Like, they lost their lives, and that's why they are there. So they have nothing to lose, which is the fucking most terrifying fact ever, if you think about that, because they are willing to do anything because they don't have anything to lose. Like, they don't give a fuck. I'm perhaps not gonna see tomorrow, but do I give a shit? It's gonna actually benefit me if I'm not gonna see tomorrow. I don't have to pay taxes. I don't have to feed my kids that I neglect and let them roam around barefoot in the streets. Whatever. Well, I do drugs and have sex for money. Like, you know, shit like that, you know? So it's fucking... Yeah. I'm not saying, like, that's my mom. I'm saying, like, that's the moms that live there. My mom was exceptionally very different, and that's the reason why we actually could get out of this neighborhood at some point. I mean, with my mom. My dad stayed there until my grandma sold the house, but I'm gonna get to that too. So you can imagine that she met my dad, that was also like a druggy, tweaker, whatever, DJ at acid parties, is also insane, I must say. He is mentally insane. I'm not exaggerating, he really is mentally insane. So you can kind of like imagine the dynamic, right? She's 16, he's like 22, 23. Yeah, that's how it all started, basically. So where are those people gonna live? Where are they gonna go? There. They're gonna go there. At the beginning, my mom lived with my dad at my grandmom's house, like at his mom's house. And then my mom got a place, which my grandma lived in that middle area, which was mostly elderly people, like I said, and like tweakers. But it was like tweakers and like elderly people who like were also like not in their right mind. Like, they were kind of like, you know, crazy, kind of like not very connected to reality. But like, they would like feed cats, and they would like have like a garden like next to where my grandma lives, that was like a private garden of someone, and that lady would always like go and like water the crops and everything, and it was like full of flowers, and they had like a lemon tree, you know, it was livable, like I said. But me and my mom, we lived in the far left side, you know, which was the worst, still is the worst part of that neighborhood. The more left you go, the worse it gets, right? Because at the end left, there's like a wall. It's a dead end, because it's like the freeway beyond that, right? So you can imagine how like isolated that place is, and how like, even though it's like very central, like you have this like path that goes like from the neighborhood itself to like the school, and then like crosses the school like that, you know, like goes like around the school, but just like a path with like metal bars around it, whatever, that leads you to like that street that when you turn like left, it's the freeway, you know what I mean? Like I described, when you go through the freeway and the first crosswalk and you go right, that's the neighborhood. So like, you know, that. So the more you're closer to that dead end, the worse it is. The worse it is. And there was like a big area of like, you know, it's always like that in the projects, like in neighborhoods like that there's like a huge basketball court or like something like that. And it's like, it's cute, you know, it's cute that the government like thinks that it's gonna do any good for us. I mean, you know, the idea is there, you know, we're gonna have to do something for them, you know. That's also like very stereotypical, like basketball court in a hood. Like, can you be more stigmatizing? Like, like what? Let alone nobody fucking used it ever. It was actually a very scary place. Oh, and next to that, oh my god, next to that, there was like the worst ever like passage, like alley, and there were two kindergartens, two. So at the and like during the day, it's very quiet. It's still very scary because it's like an empty place. It's like silent as shit, and it's just like you feel like bad energy everywhere next to that like huge basketball court, right? People are definitely not playing basketball or soccer. Oh, but they're not doing that. You can imagine what they are doing, drugs, you know. And at night, it's a place you cannot get near. It's an alley that is so fucking dangerous. A person that there in that building, that is like an alley that leads to a building that is a part of the alley. Like through the alley, you can enter the building, because there's like an alley, and then there's a building, but the building is like the lobby is like open, like the alley. It's just a part of the alley, and it's one of the residents in that building has two pit bulls. So sometimes he lets them just like roam around freely. He just lets them. Well, the police ain't gonna catch those. The police ain't gonna know about that even. And so what if he bites someone? That's his fault. Like that motherfucker's fault. You know what I mean? Like that's the vibe. So you cannot go fucking near that. So yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. Oh, so like in the far left of the neighborhood where I was living with my mom. At the beginning, my dad lived with us, but like fathers are not reliable. I'm sorry, they're not. So, he just like went back and forth, just like to my mom's, to like and to his mom's, to our house, whatever. Leave for like a week and then come back, and I don't know, until just my mom basically like kicked him out, and told him to like never fucking come back, even though there was like a one street difference. Not even it's on the same street, but just like one there was like one building in the middle between my dad's house and my mom's house. But where my mom lived is in a building where a very known criminal of this neighborhood lives. Like they lived at the very like, oh god damn it, they still live there at the very first floor, and we lived on the very last floor. And it was horrifying because they are the type of people who are like, in that neighborhood in general, are the type of people to just leave their doors open, right? To just, because this whole place is a neighborhood, their house is a part of the neighborhood, they are the neighborhood, you know what I mean? Like the neighborhood is their life. Like this, it's like a commune, you know what I mean? Like that's how it was. So they would just like leave their doors open, with letting their children just like roam around freely in the streets, because that's how they don't need to take care of them. And they would just like fight all the time. When I mean fight, I mean like they would gather all of the very big names of the neighborhood. Let's take for example From the Wire, right? I've been talking for like 33 minutes, but this is a long video because this is about life experiences. You cannot just like shrink up life experiences into like a 3-minute video. Like it's not gonna happen. I'm sorry. Like it's a very complicated thing also, like being from a neighborhood and understanding like, and getting out of it, understanding how it works. Like it's very complicated. It very much is. So how in The Wire there is like Avon Barksdale, there's like Stringer, and there's like Marlowe and Proposition Joe and shit like that. These are all like very big names, and fucking Omar, which is my favorite character fucking ever. Oh my god, my favorite character in the world. He's such a Scorpio. I have this thing that I like look I like try to like form in my mind what is the most logical zodiac sign for this character, because it's a character, it's not like the actual person, right? But like, you know, it makes sense because they also have their own personality and shit. So like Stringer Bell is a January Capricorn. You know why? Because I mean he's very good at the business stuff. He's like very like smart. You know, at the beginning in the first season, he actually advises Avon in like very good ways. You know, he's the bank, as they call it. You know, and he must be because that's actually his role in the drug empire that they have. You know, the business empire basically. But when it was time to be there for Avon when he went to prison, but Avon is like the big man, you know, the head man basically. Stringer Bell is like his partner basically. So when Avon went to prison, Stringer Bell let like his power control him basically, and wanted to like make things go his own way, even though Avon, the big man, you know, the boss basically, his boss still, even though they're partners, he was still the boss. His word is what matters really. So he just dropped the fucking loyalty to Avon and just like did all sort of kind of weird ass shit, right? So he's a January Capricorn because they are very nice and cute, you know, when you have them around for like business purposes, and they are have very good advice, and you know you need them as people. But don't get too close because they will want to steal your spot. They are jealous of you and they are power hungry, you know. And Avon is fucking Aries as fuck. Aries as fuck, you know why? Because he doesn't think. He's violent, you know? That's the whole point of the show, that, like, Avon Barksdale is violent, you know? And they're dropping bodies like that. Why? Because he's like, oh, you, you fucked up with my name, with my honor, I'm gonna fucking cross you. I'm gonna cap your ass, you know what I mean? So, like, yeah. And Oma is definitely a Scorpio, just because the whole fucking law, the whole fucking archetype of this person, like the whole reason he is a part of this TV show is because at the very first season, in the very first episodes, he has a boyfriend. The whole thing is also that he's gay. You know, he's a gay dude. A gay gangster. Like, which is like, you're like, what? You know? Because like all of their... That's another thing. Like, if you're gay in that environment, if you're LGBTQ plus and you're not a dyke, you know, which dykes get more respect, which is okay. Like, I don't know what's the difference because of the masculinity. Like like testosterone gives you respect, like the fuck, but okay. If you're not masculine to their whatever standards, then you're lesser than. And that place was a place of like hate crimes and shit like that against gay people. Like, a gay person could not just like go there, you know. Like, especially a flamboyant gay person, like, even if you bleach your hair like you know, blonde, and you have like this like blonde sleeked, you know, European like gay look, you're gonna get beat. You're gonna get beat. They're gonna steal your shit. They're gonna take your phone. They're gonna, you know, even if you're not, even if you're just like walking there with like an expensive watch, expensive phone, whatever, they're gonna take it. Like, you know, they're gonna take it. But yeah. So the whole thing is that Oma has like a boyfriend, a white boyfriend. His name is Brandon, and he's so cute. They're so cute together. And what they do is like they fucking heist drug dealers and take their money. Basically, they steal from drug dealers. So what Avon Barksdale did is he killed Brandon. And since then, Oma, Scorpio, in Scorpio-ass fashion, dedicated his life to avenge Brandon and fucking destroy the whole Barksdale operation. Anyway, I went into a different rant about zodiac signs in the TV show. But yeah. So in that area, there, like I said, there's like a lot of big names in that area where I lived with my mom, and they will each and every night would just like all of them, literally all of them, sit underneath my house, you know. And I will never forget this. I will never forget this. They would sit underneath my house, and like they would always go on some like weird rant. They would always start like a weird fight. They would always like do drugs underneath my house and get super drunk and like start like smashing like beer bottles on each other. I remember once we were actually watching Pink Diamond. I was there, like my mom was at work. My uncle, like her little brother, was babysitting us with his girlfriend, and it was like very late. It was like 9, 10, and we were watching like Pink Diamond. And as we were watching it, we started like hearing like very like loud shoutings in the back, and like very like from outside the window, you know, because where all of those people were underneath our house, you know. And we had like a window that was just like directly to like what's going on underneath the house, you know what I mean, like the yeah. So every night we would hear like those types of things, because a person that had like a very big name lived in that building that we lived in, you know. And they would also like would do a shit ton of karaoke in the middle of the night, like bitch. There was also like one dude who would, I don't know what this is, probably like drugs, but there was like a very specific time where like a dude would, I'm guessing it's a dude, but I don't really know, you know, a person would just like slam their head on the fucking steering wheel for like the like honk, to like make a sound, to honk basically, yeah. To activate like the honk. And he would just like you know how when somebody like dies in a car accident, they're just like beep, you know, on the car, on the steering wheel. So it was just like that. Someone would just, and every night it would happen at a specific time for like an hour or like plus, you know. Like, that's why I think it's like drugs, because this person did some drugs in his car, whatever, came here to buy drugs, because where will he buy it? I mean, this was kind of like the safest place to buy drugs, you know, with those people are not gonna kill you, you know, because like in the other crime neighborhoods, those people are gonna fucking kill you. Like, if they didn't like you, or if they're in a bad mood, I don't know, they're gonna beat you up, they're gonna sell your ass, I don't know what they're gonna do, right? So yeah, they're not gonna give you any drugs, basically. So I guess like he was doing drugs, and just like what the big thing was meth. Heroin also was big in our area, and like weed, but like weed isn't like a, you know, you can misuse it, but just like it's not gonna make you act crazy like heroin is gonna make you, or like especially when you're off of it and you're addicted, like imagine. And meth, like like amphetamines, yeah. So we were watching Pink Diamonds, and all of a sudden we hear this like riot. It's like a riot that we're hearing, basically. And we go like sneak into the window, and I like tilt the blinds just a little bit, you know, the shutters just a little bit, and I see all of those famous names, right? And like one of them is like a mom of a kid that goes to my school. I was like 8, like I told you, a kid that goes to my school, but it's like a few years younger than me. I think it was in my sister's grade, something like that. My sister is like 4.5 years younger than me, so it was something like that, you know. And she was screaming to someone about like, oh yeah, I fucked your brother and he paid me so well for it, you know, because this is how I make my living, this is how I make my money, and blah 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 blah. Yeah, you wished I would sell my body to you, you would wish, shit like that. And they were like fighting and shouting, and beer bottles were just like fucking thrown everywhere, and just like we would hear it, like we would hear like of the glass, like bitch. And I would go to school in the morning and see like the floor is full of glass, like green glass from like beer bottles, like bruh. So like that's basically what they were doing, you know. The women in those areas, also the reason why they had so many children and they couldn't keep up with them was because they were selling their body to exist, you know, basically either for drugs, either for paying rent, shit like that, you know. That's what they were doing because they didn't have any other fucking way of doing that, right? And everybody is using, and everybody is like doing crimes in any sort of way, right? And kids are being neglected and malnourished and fucking pushed into crime and violence and just like, you know, crazy shit. So where my and they are left, like the right side is where like there's like more drugs, but but less crime. It's like silent drug dealing, which where I lived was violent drugs. Like the biggest drug empire of the neighborhood is like right in front of my old building where the fucking basketball court is, and it's a very big family. My mom still is like buys from them because, you know, we know them, like it's like siblings. It's fucked up to say, but it's like siblings, you know, that we kind of live, we're a whole family, I guess, in the neighborhood. Like that's how we see it, I guess, because like I said, we had nothing else. I mean, I was born into this fucking mess. I don't know what about y'all, but I have don't time in with that. So yeah. And like there were also like a lot of old people like digging in trash and shit like that because they also didn't have any money and whatever, you know. And yeah. And where was I? Where was I going with this? Oh, so like the big like drug empire were like kind of you know how Bubbles in The Wire, like he is a police informant, he's like a CI, so he gets away with doing whatever the fuck because like they need him as an informant, right? Like they don't give a fuck if he like buys heroin and does heroin on the streets. Like they don't give a shit because he is their informant. He knows everything about it because he's in it, you know. And that is also a reason for them to keep him in that area, to keep him hooked on heroin. There was also a time, like in the show, you know, I think it was in the second or third season, I don't know, something like that, that he was like, no, I'm going clean. He went to like Narcotics Anonymous, like NA, whatever. And he was like going clean. He went to his like went to like his sister and was like, can I like be in the basement, whatever, live in the basement, I want to get myself straight, whatever. And then the police needed him, and he was about to like tell them that he is like keeping it clean, whatever. But first of all, addiction is way stronger than your mind is, like way stronger than what you think you are, you know, because you can be like the most strong-willed person, but addiction could fucking erase that, right? When it comes to like quitting, you know. So they didn't even think like he is also capable of stopping because it's fucking heroin. Like everybody knows that, like everybody knows the end destination of using heroin, you know, we all know. So they just like didn't even think about it and just like gave him like money, you know, because that's what he would do. Like he would just like help them, like the police, in order to get money to buy more drugs. That's what he would do, you know, that's his thing. And he was like about to like speak up and say I'm keeping it straight, but they just handed him like bills and were just like, there you go, you need that, you know. Because also, if he wouldn't be out in the streets, he wouldn't be dealing with those same people, he wouldn't be buying drugs from the people that they're trying to catch, like, then how will they use him? as a CI, as an informant. You know what I mean? Informant. Does it have an N? Information. Informant. It doesn't have an N. So yeah. Which kind of like is what is going on with that like drug empire, because they're very like out there. It's a whole ass family, kind of like the Barksdale thing, but they're not like violent. They're not violent. The other people in that area are violent, but they aren't. Like they're just like doing like selling drugs basically, and like they are like snitches, as we would call it, because like they are doing it in such a way that no one can get away with this unless they are snitching. So people also have a stigma about that, you know? And if you're a snitch, like somebody's gonna cross you. So they're not safe there either. But, you know, they're kind of like family, so like people are just like, you know, like I told you, like my mom still like buys from them weed sometimes because like they're like family, you know? If somebody's gonna make you a good price, it's someone who is like your sibling that knows you for years. You've been neighbors for years, man. Like since my mom was like 18, 19, bruh. Damn, she's like 37 soon. No, she's already 37, yeah. I'm 20 almost. Can you imagine? I'm 20 and my mom is like 37. Like, this is crazy. Like, I love having a teen mom. I mean, wasn't so fun as a kid that, you know, your parents don't know how to raise you, but, you know, when you're an adult, you can be like, oh my god, my mom is so young, and like she gets me. Was it worth it? I don't know, man. I don't know. God gives you lemon, make fucking lemonade. I don't know. Is it spoiled? Don't drink it then. I don't know, but at least you got the lemonade. So one time, what happened in my my father's building, basically, we had like, if in my mom's like area, we had like violent aggressors surrounding us, like hitmans, like violent criminals, basically, you know, hoes, you know, literal hoes, you know. And we would have like a lot of like drug you know, related events going on near our house. And also where my mom's house was, well, she rented that apartment, right? It wasn't like she bought it or anything, which was great because my grandmom got stuck with a fucking apartment that she bought that she didn't even want, and she hated her entire life. So thank god now she sold it and she moved to a different city with like a perfect view, perfect new tiles and everything, whatever. I don't know. Fucking yard, whatever. So there was like very close to my mom's house, like a playground for kids. For kids, you know, a playground. Which wasn't for kids, it was for the junkies. Which my dad was one of those junkies who would go to the amusement park, like to the playground, and do drugs where kids are supposed to be playing. You know? Like they would sit there and do drugs. Like hardcore drugs, like heroin, like amphetamines. Where kids are supposed to be having fun and playing, and like what? Like how does a mom feel safe to take her kid there? Like she doesn't. Like that's fucked. That is so fucked. You cannot go there too early. I think now you can't go there at all. Just don't go there at all, right? Because I think kids don't even go there anymore. Like no. That area just got worse, you know. Even though it got renovated a few times, but it didn't stop them from, you know, that's the power of habit, I guess. So if you went too early in the mornings, there were still junkies and tweakers from the night before, you know, finishing their like high, you know, the trip, whatever, really. asleep on the fucking ground. I don't know, you know. And if you go there when it starts to get late, you start seeing those people come into the playground. And that is also scary as fuck. So yeah, you just don't go to the playground. Don't play. Just don't be a kid. Just kill yourself, basically. Just do it. I'm sorry, I don't mean it, but that's how I felt. I was just like, okay, just kill yourself. Like, this has no hope anymore. But yeah, and let alone, I was also fucking seeing how my dad, of course, because like drug abuse makes you, and also not being mentally sane makes you act violently. And also, if you're in that neighborhood, and well, my dad was very in that whole thing. He craved being a part of that world, and he didn't suit that world because he is insane, right? So every time things would get out of hand, he would go snitch. And that's how he almost like got killed. He was stabbed like 14 times, and and like his lung was punctured, and he still has like breathing problems from that, you know, shit like that. So yeah, people were coming to our house, like detectives coming to our house, whatever. So he would always like also fucking beat my mom, you know, because he is not sane. He is insane, right? He is not mentally stable, and he is abusing drugs, and when he doesn't have the drugs, he's on a criz, you know? So like so you know, so he would beat my mom. So as a kid, that's all I would see. I would just like walk in to just like interrupt them and get fucking swung at too, you know? I was like, I don't know, 3, even a bit like younger than that. Like, I was just so small, and this is what I would see, you know, in my, you know, neighborhood. It's funny that the sirens. Where were you when I was a kid? Sirens. like where? Like where? Like where? No, I'm kidding. I'm over it. It shaped me. Honestly, it shaped me, because now I could never. I know I have like big plans for my life to become very rich, my first millionaire in my family, shit like that, and be very, very like, I don't know, boss energy, whatever. Make my dreams come true, and I know that because I have this rough as fuck past, and almost everything around me always reminds me of it. I will never forget where I came from. So like, that's a gift that God gave me, basically, because like this way I can actually enjoy making like my dreams come true, and like achieving my goals in a sense that isn't how can I say this, too material, I guess, like, because, you know, like I said, String a Bell was very good at whatever, you know, gave very good advice, was like the perfect right hand man, but at one moment he was too close to being the head man, you know, the boss, and that fucking what set him off. That's what failed him, because he was consumed by the power. And I am so fucking grateful that is probably not gonna happen to me, because I will never forget where I came from. Like, even if I wanted to, I cannot. Like, sometimes I would like to forget, but I cannot. Okay? I cannot. Yeah. So it's a gift in disguise, you know. For you, it's a disguise. For me, it's clearly a gift, because I've been over it, you know. Like, it shaped me for who I am at this point. But, yeah. So, my dad, it was a very violent home, and like whatever, but every home was like that. Every home there is like that still, like violence against women, violence from like their parents to their kids, where there is like mental abuse, physical abuse, verbal abuse, like all of it, all of it, sexual abuse could be too, all of it, you know. I also went to school, like my best friend, her dad was in prison. I would come. That I think that's kind of like why we were friends, because like she didn't have a dad, and I was just like I related, so I was just like, because I was growing up with my mom mostly, so like it was just like I would go to her place and it would be just her mom, and I would be like, oh, well, do you have a dad? And she'll be like, yeah, well, he's in prison. I'll be like, oh yeah, cool, mine too. Oh my god, this slices. My dad, because he's a snitch, was in prison for only a week, so very beta, I would say. Very beta male. Whatever. And he went to prison for beating my little brother. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, this is a lot of personal information, but you need this to understand what the fuck goes on in those neighborhoods, right? Because this is the norm there. This isn't like as terrifying. That's why I tell you this with a straight face, because there, this is the norm. Like, what else do you expect? Do you expect to live like a normal life? No, this is the normal life. If you're not rich, this is also the belief that if you're not rich, you you weren't born to like rich parents, you're gonna stay here forever, babe. And they would say it all the time. And my parents would say it all the time, other than my mom. My mom wouldn't say that because she would always like work on like getting out of there. But like, my like friends and like my dad's family and like my all of those people like in my surroundings would be like, if you're not born to like a rich family, then you're not gonna make it. I'm sorry, you're stuck here. And I think it was my aunt from my dad's side, like his little sister, that is that is like a legend. She's a legend. Real. She's a legend. Like, she didn't want to live there anymore. She couldn't, because she was like me, not made out of that type of material. So she went to university and she studied like engineering and like management and engineering, something like that. And she became an analyst for like a very known high-tech company, and like she is like the pride of the family. Because she lives in Ranana, which is like a very fancy people's place, which yeah, yeah. So I used to see her, because she isn't that older than me. I mean, she is, but like, she's like 31 now? Something like that, 32, I don't know, something like that. So, yeah, she, I would hear that she goes to university, and I would be like, university is so expensive, though. I didn't know she went into severe debt. Severe debt of like $50,000 of debt. I didn't know that, but as a kid, but that made me feel hopeful. She came from the same house that I'm living in right now, which was like my grandma's house, whatever. And she went to university. Like, what the fuck? Like, she could do that? So those are all fucking lies. Like, she didn't she wasn't born to like a rich ass family. Actually, her dad, like my grandfather, was schizophrenic. And also, you can probably assume that he had PTSD from being in the war, from being actively in a war. And being in the army, not only here but also in like fucking Soviet ass Georgia at the time. So yeah. So she definitely didn't come for like a wealthy background or anything, or like a stable one. So for me to see her being able to like fucking go to university, I was just like, wow, this is not the end of the world. Like, I'm not stuck here. Like, I'm not stuck here. And like, once, it was actually not long ago, it was like maybe 3 years ago, 2 years ago, I don't know, something like that, that it happened. But my grandmom used to live on that building in like the highest floor, right, on the highest floor. But it was like the first door from like the steps, right? You go up the steps, and there's the first door, and then you have to like go around, and there's like a few more doors. There's like one here, and one here. And like the one that was like right across from my grandmom, like these are the steps which you go up, and then you have this like crossway to go like this, like this shaped, that shaped like that. Yes, triangular. No, rectangular. Rectangular, right? So she is, I think she is still alive, a very nice lady who lived there, and was like a grandmom of like a girl that me and her would always like compare our Monster High doll collections and shit like that, and she would always come visit her, like the grandmom, and like on like holidays and shit like that. And when it was like Passover, we would like she would like stay there for like a while, because it's like, you have a while of like vacation, like holiday from school. So we would just like the whole time, like every day, we would just like meet up and like play with dolls and shit like that, and it would be so cute. And she was like younger than me. I feel like now she's like 16. She also shout out to you, girl, I love you. She also came to work at the arcade that I'm working in, and I actually like were initiating her to work there. She didn't end up staying, sadly, but whatever, but it was so cute. Yeah, so it was so cute. So in front of my grandmom was this like old Russian lady that has like, it's kind of like the same thing as my grandmom, like she's like this old, well, not very old, she's like this Georgian grandma. She's like 66. She's not that old, actually. She's very like, thank God, and like the with her fucking 40-year-old son, 30-something-year-old son living there. So in front of her was like a door exactly like that, like a fucking old ass Russian woman with like a son that was like very old, like 30, something like that, and the one in between her and that cute grandma with the granddaughter that I was friends with was fucking a person who had like a big name in like the crime neighborhood, or maybe not like a big name, but had a name there. And he fucking crossed the wrong person, and and I'm not exactly sure why, because like my dad didn't really figure out why, but like, well, perhaps like they didn't want to tell him so he wouldn't snitch, because my dad has a reputation of a snitch, because that's exactly what he is. And in those neighborhoods, like I said, snitches get stitches, literally. So I've been spitting so much, but like, it's the British accent, okay? It's in the very entrance of my mouth. Like I cannot speak from otherwise, because then like it would be a completely different tone and accent. So yeah. Anyway, so like I'm notified, right? Like a day after this happens, right? Because I would like every day meet with my grandmom to like coffee near my apartment where I live, right? It was when I was still living in my first ever apartment. So like that coffee shop was like underneath my house, which was amazing, because like I remember like one time being high as fuck on acid, and I was just like, and it was morning, I had like a night trip, like I took it like very late at night, so like in the morning I was just still very high. So I was just like, okay, I want coffee, I'm gonna get coffee, nobody's gonna notice, I'm gonna put sunglasses on, nobody's gonna notice, it's right here, I don't need to go much, I won't get lost, it's right here. It was just like 2 stores in between. This is my apartment, 2 stores, boom, the coffee shop. That's how it was. So it was very convenient. I was so proud of myself that I could do it high as fuck on LSD. But um, yeah. So like we were sitting there, me and my grandmom, and before I continue with that story, it's also very important for me to say that, like, because I grew up in that neighborhood, drugs were a huge part of my life. Because of every story that my parents told me, or were involved in, or whatever, or had experienced, was revolved around drugs. Like, it was, drugs were always like somehow a part of the equation. So I had a phase where I was experimenting with drugs. Like, I took ecstasy, and I actually yesterday I had like a realization of just like, damn, how bad like it was, because I had this friend who, I'm not friends with her anymore because she like very like vocally supported a rapist, but like whatever, shit happens, I guess. I mean, that is not justified in any fucking way, but like, one time I saw her like chart, and she is a Capricorn, a December Capricorn, but her chart was identical to mine, other than the sun sign. So I was like, this is a karmic relationship as fuck, because like we had like a group of friends, and I was like the mom friend, and she was the dad, and we even had like made polls on it, like, like, and everybody would said like, overall, like, one mouth, like nobody else said anything else, right? I'm the mom of the group, she's the dad of the group. We were just like that, polar opposites, but we were just like kind of like super like identical in some ways. Like, I cannot describe that, right? So she was an ex drug user. Well, she was an active drug user, right? She was very like highly dependent on marijuana, and she had like a history of doing everything, every drug, like heroin. She was addicted to cocaine for 2 years. She did a lot of ketamine. She was a psychonaut too, so she did like cacti and like shrooms, so every sort of shrooms you can imagine, and like took as many tabs as you can imagine, and like did ayahuasca also. Went to with her like father, I think, to like a trip, and like no, her aunt, I think, I don't know, something like that. Like, she hardcore like druggie, not in a, I don't know, in a bad way or not. I think it's in a bad way, and it's not something that I have not told her and everybody around that friend group. Like, I would be like the one who is like for drugs, but responsibly. Again, I like drugs responsibly. This is the alchemist in me, like, first of all, I do not condone any drugs whatsoever. I do not condone violence. I do not condone any of those things. I'm just telling you my life story, okay? I'm actually telling you how to get out of those situations if you are in them, right? Because, like, nobody chooses to be born into a fucking hellscape like that, right? But we can choose to, like, escape from that hellscape, Like, we can choose to, like, break free. Diva Destruction, fucking, she posted a song, like, she released a song called Break Free, and it's just, like, is stuck in my mind forever. But, yeah. You can. Like, I did it, you can do it too, right? Yeah. I moved out in, like, when I was 17, right? My mom, like, moved us out from the neighborhood when I was, like, 14. So, since then, I wasn't a part of the neighborhood. But, like, when I say I moved out, even out of my mom's, which was like a very stable place and whatever, when I was 17, means that just like I could do it, I could move to a place of my own. And it wasn't easy at all. It wasn't easy. Like, it was a shitty place, but it was in a more stable place, and it was my place. and I had a roommate, and it was safe. Basically, that's what I'm trying to say. It was safe. So you can create your own safe environment. Don't feel like it's like all hope is lost, right? Because it isn't. And you can do it. Like, I believe in you. This is why I'm making this video, because I am believing in you, and I want to give you information of how to actually actively believe in yourself and do whatever it takes to get yourself. Oi, sorry, babe. Oh, sorry. Get yourself out of that situation. Sorry. I'm sorry. Just my lipstick stains everything I have. Everything I have is stained with lipstick. Everybody says that I have lipstick everywhere other than my lips, and that is so true. There is no sentence that is more correct than this one. But yeah, so like there was one time where like we were all like wanting together as a group to do like ecstasy, right? And I was just like, because the thing is, I knew what ecstasy was because I got it for my birthday, like my 18th birthday. I got like 2 ecstasy pills from my best friend. At the time, my best friend at the time. We're not friends anymore. But like, and I took them, and I took like one by myself, and I actually took the other one by myself too. And it just like gave me this like love for myself, like made me aware of the love that I have for myself, whatever, because I did it by myself. While my roommate had like a grinder date. Wow, that was so fucking surreal. Like, he had like a grinder date, and I was high as fuck on ecstasy. I was just like walking around my room like this. Just this is how everything felt, like this, and then I would just plop on my chair and I would fall asleep for like 2 minutes, and I would just come back and just like start going around the fucking house, whatever. And mids this is happening, my roommate has a grinder date, and I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, in hindsight, I'm just like, what the fuck? This is ghetto as fuck. Like, what is this? Like, what is this? Yeah, very low vibrational, but you know what? That's how we rise up. Like I said, that's the alchemist in me. Like, I do believe certain substances that activate our brain in some ways can help us see areas of our subconscious and shit like that. Subconscious. I add N to words that don't have N in them. That's just who I am, everyone needs an N, So yeah, so like I believe that if you like choose to use it correctly and with the right mindset and with the right intentions, you can benefit from things like that. I don't know about like ketamine. Like, people want to say ketamine is like a very good psychedelic, whatever. I would not say that about ketamine, because ketamine is dangerous. It is dangerous. When LSD and magic mushrooms, like psychedelic mushrooms, psilocybin, they are dangerous, like, yeah. So I feel like if we can use certain substances that that are provided to us, basically, like weed, it's provided to us. And I don't know if you've ever seen how people make cocaine, but this is not natural in any fucking way. I'm not saying that LSD is completely natural, but it is like, it doesn't harm you. That's what I'm trying to say, it isn't made, and like, it's extracted, right? It isn't made, it's extracted from something, right? Where to make like cocaine and shit like that, you have to like fucking soak the coca flowers in gasoline, like, in, so this isn't good for anyone. No, like, that is no, like. And even like with the opium flower, you have to make it go through extreme like chemistry things, and to make meth, shit like that. These are like, psychological warfare. Basically, this is what it is, where like things like mushrooms that just grow naturally from the ground, and you don't have to do anything for them to make you hallucinate or like to make you feel like you're one with the entire world, because like that's what they are meant to do, and like weed, it's meant to connect you with your inner self, with your subconscious, right? That's why people who are afraid of their subconscious have bad highs on weed, have bad like trips on LSD and shit like that. People who are like, repressing shit, it's gonna come up because it wants to heal you. That's basically the thing, this thing holds you back from healing, so we're gonna make it go up to your conscious mind. So you have to face it right now, and this altered state of mind, which also gives you euphoria in a sense of like, this, we're helping you heal from this, right? But if you resist it, then it's gonna attack you. You're gonna feel like it's attacking you, basically, because if you don't want to heal and it's kind of like forcing you to heal, that's like, it's not a good dynamic, you know what I mean? Like, that's why I'm saying you need to like be aware of your mindset and the reason you're using those substances. Because like, I know there was a time in my life where I was using substances not good at all. I was using substances for like to feel something, basically. Yeah, to feel something, because that's what I thought that's what I thought fun is, but the instance that actually made me realize like how fucked up this is, like more than anything else, because like I had like a realization beforehand, and I kind of like held up with the I would stop with the drugs for a while. You know how you want to like make a specific sentence, but it just like mids telling it, you forget the formation of the sentence. So if you don't, that's just my ADHD, I guess. I don't know. So or my Mercury in Capricorn, that I just want to get into every little detail, but I just can't, because like at the same time, but I can because I need to get out each word at a time, you know what I mean? Yeah. So there was one time, like I said, my whole friend group were like kind of like experimenting with drugs at that time, and me kind of like being a veteran drug user, and her being like the dad of the group, like I said, her being like the most experienced drug user, right? People were kind of like praising her and like giving her like putting a lot of trust in her that she abused, because she's a Capricorn. That's what they do. I'm not saying she did that on purpose. She wasn't aware of that. That's like the whole point, that's what I'm saying. Like, she wasn't even aware of that, because it blinded her. Like, she was like, oh my god, I get to do ecstasy with all these people, and I get to teach them about drugs, and I get to be like the mentor and shit like that, and blah blah blah. But she didn't think how it's gonna affect them, and and the thing with ecstasy is, when you take ecstasy, before like the euphoria hits, you have kind of like the high is kind of like having a panic attack, because your heart rate's really fast and everything around you is moving and you can't breathe, and like you can't see well, and you can't even drink water because like you want to throw it up, like it's insane, and you cannot eat anything because you're gonna throw it up, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. So she didn't tell that to anyone. She didn't like preface that in any sort of a way. Like, she said, oh, it's a love drug, it's like fun, it's like a party drug, it's like we're gonna party, and like I was fucked as fuck, and I was kind of like thrown off by that. I was just like, that's why I didn't take ecstasy, I took LSD, because also one of my friends there took LSD. She did take ecstasy because she didn't feel comfortable doing that or whatever, or I feel like the ecstasy was actually too, oh no, she just wanted LSD. That's what I remember. She just wanted another LSD trip, Um, and they stayed over at my place. Like, it used to be like that. That like my place is like where we do drug. Oh, when I say it out loud, that's fucked. It was the place where we do drugs, and everybody sleeps over because everybody's like drugged out. You know. Again, don't do drugs. You know. Uh. So yeah. So the like the instance where like I said, a previous cocaine addict is crushing ecstasy pills on my desk and like takes a bill, like a money, and like makes like a straw out of it to snort the ecstasy. And seeing that, I was just like, that's I don't want that. What the fuck? Like, I don't. That's how I felt. I was just like, no, no. And one of my best friends was there too, and she was feeling kind of like I am. She was just like, damn, like she was like the most naive one. I feel like she was taking advantage of in that situation the most, because like she didn't the fuck know what is going on, So this is just like an aftermath of living in the hoods, basically, because when you are like surrounded, I was never like a violent person, right? So I went into this kind of like area of this like hood thing, and I let that kind of like influence my life, my adult life, when people with like more inclination to like violence and shit like that, they can let that influence their adult life. You know what I'm saying? Like, if me, and look, even through all that, I was hella responsible. I was always drinking wine water. I was not going places I shouldn't go. I was not talking with people I shouldn't talk with. Like, I wasn't doing things to get drugs. Like, I wasn't there at all. Like, I was like very responsible, and most of the time, like, people would buy the drugs for me. Like, I wouldn't even have to buy them myself, because I was actually scared of doing that, because I grew up with drug dealers and I was scared of them, so like, yeah. Yeah. And you know what, something that is very funny, um to me it's not funny, but like to like other people it might be. You know how like traditionally in like the Western world, like those neighborhoods are mostly ruled by like ethnic groups, like like black people or like Mexican people or whatever, and they were like dangerous and like to be afraid of or whatever. So in my neighborhood, the white people, white, I guess Moroccans and whatever, like they look white, so we call them white here. I don't know, So like the white people, we're scarier. We're the scary people. Like, when I saw like a black person wearing a hoodie and walking, I was just like, okay, cool, I'm fine. But like, if it was a white person, I was like, oh my god, who is this? Is this the tweaker? Is this the drug dealer? Is this the murderer that lives next to me? Like, who the fuck is this? Oh, I didn't even tell you the story. Oh my god. So like, the dude that was living like next to my grandma's house, like in the same like floor of the building. So he had like a name in the neighborhood, whatever. He owed money to someone, and he had like a wife or like a girlfriend and like a kid, and they were like they fought or whatever. So like the girl like went to like her parents with the kid, whatever, and literally that night, they literally sliced him up. I don't know who, I don't know why, I don't know, because probably he owed them money. That's what I heard. They literally decapitated him. They did. And from what I heard, the whole apartment was full of blood splatters from here to heaven. Like, from hell to heaven, bro. Like, yeah. He was decapitated. Like, his throat was slit. I don't know if he was like completely decapitated, but his throat was slit. Like let that sink in, right? And my grandma lived doors next to that, like, and she was sleeping in her bed while this was happening. Like, what the fuck, you know? And it wasn't the first time like this shit happened. Like, a lot of times, like, people were like brutally murdered in those areas. Other than the fact that they were just like shot because of like gangster activity or like drug activity or whatever, or like owing money and shit like that, or like stabbed because a person wanted to steal your iPhone, or a person wanted to steal your motorik bicycle. Like, so he wanted that motorik bicycle, so he fucking stabbed you to get it, bitch, you know? And it happened a lot of times. One of the times that this happens with like an electric bicycle, the police came, but they actually didn't go into the neighborhood. They were just like at the entrance of the neighborhood, like asking other people like what happened, because everybody knows, but probably like nobody talked with them because everybody like disrespects the police. Because what are the police gonna do? You're gonna blame me for knowing, like, bitch, you know? You're gonna be like, oh, how do you know? You're gonna lock me up for knowing, bitch, you know? And also, everybody knows everybody through illegal activity, so like, it's just very incriminating. Like, you know how Bubbles in The Wire, like, through like the third season, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, third season, he starts selling shirts in the streets. Like, that's his way of like making income, you know? If I had to say, like, if he was like a what is it, like a zodiac sign, who would he be? He would probably be like either like a Libra or like Sagittarius. Either like a Libra or like a Sagittarius. That's what I feel like, you know? Yeah. Because it's like super like irresponsible, but also like kind of like knows his shit for some reason, and like is on the top of his game for some reason. I don't know, man. I've been like talking a lot. This is a very long episode, but you know what? You're here for like a story. That's what you're here for. And the story is long. And if you have to go take a break, come back to this video, whatever, you want to put it in the background, I don't give a shit, you know, because I know that it's gonna help some people, and for that, it's worth it for me to upload this, you know? It's worth it for me to sit here for like 2 hours and like fry my brain, you know, speaking, you know? So, when I saw like this very close friend of mine that was previously like a cocaine addict, sniffing ecstasy in my house, in my room, through a bill on my table, I was just like, I don't want this. Like, I was like really afraid that she's gonna, because like that's a cocaine habit, you know, to sniff. So I was just like afraid that she would go back to cocaine, and like she was wanting to like solicit some of us to like do ketamine with her, and some of us really wanted, because I mean, not me obviously, because you know, but like that's just scary shit, you know. And one of my best friends there was also like uncomfortable with the situation, because she was like really naive and nobody told her anything about this, and she was like, well, everybody went outside. Also, we went outside being high as fuck on ecstasy, right? Me on LSD, another friend on LSD, but like the rest on ecstasy, right? And we went through the most crowded place ever, talking out loud about how they are high as fuck on ecstasy and how good it feels and whatever. And I'm like, bro, what are you doing? This is not responsible in any fucking way. Like, what are you doing? You know? So I was just like, I'm going home. I cannot do this. I'm going home. So me and another, like, that very naive friend that I had, that she was on ecstasy and I was on LSD, we just went home to my place, you know? And there, we had such a good time for just, like, she was, like, playing with my guitar. She was just like the whole time sitting and playing with my guitar. She's a guitarist, you know, so that's what she did. And I was like drawing, and like she was also drawing. Oh my god, I remember it now. Oh, that's so cute. And I was like smoking weed, and we were just like chilling, and I was just listening to her like strumming the guitar, like doing random things. And for us just being there, and we kind of like talked about that. I was just like, I don't like what's going on outside. Like, I don't like that, you know. I don't like how they, like, this seemed very dangerous to me. Like, okay, you can be high outside, whatever, but just like don't scream, yo, I'm high on ecstasy, ha ha ha, come take advantage of me. Like, you know what I mean? You have to have some sort of common sense. And because she was a very like looked up to figure in the friend group, because like, you know how the father, the dad is like what you want to be, kind of, you know. So like, and who you respect, you know. And the mom is the one that tells you not to do stuff because she's like more of a worried person or whatever. Like, she's more of a restrictionist, where the father has less limitations in that kind of like area, you know, because the mother is like uh, responsible for the dynamics of the home, and the father is responsible for the existence of the stability in the home, in a sense of like, so the mother can have her room to do whatever that entails. The father needs to go and do the practical things to make the mother satisfied, to make the kids satisfied, in the sense of they have food, they have clothing, they have like guidance, you know. And the mother is there, and I mean, that's like stereotypically what it is, you know. And you know, we're both like females, you know, so that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm explaining it like that, you know, through stereotypes, because that's what happened, you know, the stereotypes. And I'm also like, in my presence, I'm very feminine, as you can clearly see. Even though I'm a dyke, I'm still very feminine. um when she is also a dyke, in the best way possible, you know. We actually kissed once, twice. I don't know. We kissed. Um, she was a very masculine. You know, the way she's walking is like this. You know, dragging her pants, like just like with like her like back a little bit tilted, like very like masculine walk. You know, like, and I'm like, you know, so we were like this, like that. You know, so like the mom is the less cool one, you know. Like, she is cool in like the softness of things, you know. Let's describe that in like in zodiac signs, like we do, you know, like we do on this channel. So I would be more like the embodiment of like Pisces, stillness and just like emotions and like empathy and like creativity and just like spiritual growth and whatever. And she would be like Aries, like, let's do this, like, let's experience that, let's like set the world on fire, which was fun. And we needed that, you know, we needed that balance, you know, because I loved that sometimes too, and she loved that sometimes too, you know. She loved the stillness sometimes and the spiritual growth and whatever, you know, and the emotional bonding. And I liked doing shit and like burning the system and fucking, I don't know, taking action. Like, I loved it, you know. But when it crossed that line, I was just like, this is not, no, this I cannot condone this anymore. And at the end of the day, like, the universe made us split in a very unique way, that I could never made up, even if I wanted to. I could never make such a thing up, even if I tried really hard. And imagine like a person like that has your identical zodiac chart. I mean, I don't know about the degrees and the houses, yeah. I mean, I didn't check that. I was like too shocked by the placements, right? That I didn't check like the houses and shit like that, which also is comic as fuck, because like we could have like the same placements other than like the sun sign, but it would be in like complete opposite houses, so it would clash, you know what I mean? So yeah, that just explains to me like how like this was meant to be, but also at the end of the day was meant to like fall apart, you know what I mean? And this is just like my I felt like I wanted to share this story with you because this haunts me sometimes. I'm gonna be very honest with you, especially when I watch shit like The Wire and stuff like that. I look at it and I'm like, this looks like my neighborhood. This looks exactly like my neighborhood. Like, Americans are always gonna be more violent than, you know, any other place. when we're talking about crimes like that, like street crimes and stuff, like Americans are always going to be more violent. Europeans are murderously violent, like in an insane way, like erotic pleasure from violence, you know what I mean? From like hardcore violence, which I have that in my genes too, I'm not gonna lie to you. If you're gonna read my book that's gonna come out next year in 2025, you're gonna probably know what I'm talking about when I'm saying, like, you know, I'm not gonna go out murder people, so I'm gonna write about that, you know? But some, you know, some people don't have that self restraint, so they're gonna just go up and murder people. But whatever. Thing is, like, of course, like American culture is always like more violent. I think because of like the land. I believe in like the spiritual like significance of the land itself and how there was like a lot of genocide and murder on the American soil, basically. You know, how the original Americans, which people call them indigenous people now, or Indians even, which it's absurd to me because they are Americans, but whatever. All of the rest are just like fucking European people who came to like live in America, but okay. Um, they fucking were like they were killed and like fucking enslaved and raped and whatever, like, you know, by the Europeans who came to fucking colonize the place and like take over, basically, you know. So yeah. I feel like this is the reason why it's gonna be like this place, the American soil, is very violent, you know. But other than that, like, also I grew up there as a kid, you know, and even if as a kid I could see so many similarities from that neighborhood to mine, the one I grew up in, like from The Wire and the one that I grew up in, you know. I don't know exactly what was going on there. I was just a kid, you know, and I know all of these things were happening. And I saw all of those things happening, you know, and I was just a kid. So imagine if I was an adult living there, I would perhaps see the same thing that I see on the show, like in The Wire. Like I would see people shooting each other. Like I would see, because there were like shootings and shit like that where I lived. Like it was, you know, a bit more of like to the right side because there were like the mafia people living, because there was like a bit more of like there were like fancy houses, like houses and not like apartment buildings, you know, but they were still like looking like they are placed in the hood, you know, like run down, like fucking look like they're a 1,000 year old house, whatever, you know. You get it, okay. So when I'm watching The Wire, I cannot but think about, like, you know, Wallace. I don't know if you remember Wallace, but like in the first season there's this dude, this kid, basically. He's like 15, 14. His name is Wallace, yeah. And he works with like Poot and what's his name? Yo, he's one of my favorite characters. I mean, even though he shot Wallace, sorry for the spoilers, but like wait, let me look that up. Bodhi. Bodhi. I didn't even look that up. I just remembered. Which Bodhi is definitely like a Leo, and like Poot is definitely a Pisces as fuck. But Wallace was like a Gemini. Wallace was just like, I'm doing what it takes, you know. I'm here. I don't have a, you know, my mom somewhere, like his mom was like somewhere drinking with some, somewhere. He didn't even know where because she just left, you know. And he just lived in a vacant lot and like whatever, you know. And he didn't know anything else because that's what there was. And he was dealing drugs because that's what they all were doing, you know, at Barksdale's, you know. That's what they were all doing. So when he finally decided, he spoke with the D'Angelo, that was his name. D'Angelo? Yeah, D'Angelo Barksdale, that's his name. That also was not, didn't fit that place, you know. I would probably give him like a not a Virgo. A Virgo? What is a fragile sign? But it wasn't that. No, I would give him a Virgo, definitely. He is a Virgo. So or like a Cancer. Nah, he ain't crazy enough to be a Cancer, so he's a Virgo. I would say Taurus, but nah, he isn't that firm to be a Taurus. He is a Virgo. Um, that's just my take on it. Okay, so like Wallace is speaking to him, and he's like, yo, I don't think I want to keep doing this anymore. Like, I think I want an actual future. Like, I think I want like to go to university and try to do that. Try to make a future. I don't think I want to keep doing this. And that made him go talk with the police and like snitch, basically. Tell them all about it, other than D'Angelo, because D'Angelo was cool to him, whatever. And because and after that, like, they dropped him somewhere like at his grandma's house. That was like a long way away from the drug dealing place, whatever. So he was missing for like a couple days or two, or like a week or whatever. And it's very unusual, because every day you show up. If you don't show up, you don't have any money, and everybody are super fucking money hungry there, because they need it. They're poor as fuck. They don't have money. So if he doesn't show up to work, and also he was like using like the substance that he was selling, which is already a bad start at 14. Man, what the fuck. This is like the story who made me like want to share this, right? Because like people like that, who all of a sudden decide that they want to have a future, and they want to like get out of the neighborhood and the ghetto, whatever, and like people in their environment are stopping them from doing so. Because what happened was that he came back. He knew, and he was like, that's why I'm saying he's a Gemini, because he was like, oh, I don't want to do this, but he got bored as fuck at his grandma's house, and he felt like he was like missing out on, and like people are gonna think about him this and that. So like he is just gonna go back, whatever. And what they did is Bodhi and Poot, they shot him. I mean, Bodhi shot him, but like they killed him because they were afraid that he snitched, and that he was missing when he didn't explain why and didn't explain where, and like he didn't, like, so they fucking killed him. And I feel like the reason that he also came back from his grandma's place is because he thought, I already know the police ain't gonna do shit, right? I'm gonna have no choice but get back to where I was, right? So let's not make things worse, and let's just come back right now, so they won't be suspicious of me snitching like I actually did, like I snitched, and that's why he was killed, because he didn't even believe he could get out of that situation. So he was just he just pulled himself back into it, and he was just not made for it, because he already wasn't aligned. He already was not aligned with those dealings, with those things, so I guess like you can sense that in the energy, that somebody is not aligned with what they're doing. So like, especially if it's crime, because like if you're driven by your will and like by whatever, and you believe what you're doing is right, and you're doing crime, like it's very visible. But if you are unsatisfied with doing crime and like crime dealings and like violence and shit like that, it's very much visible. Like your body language, like it's visible, okay? Even the way you commit the crime itself, it's gonna expose you for the fact that you are not doing it for the same reasons as we are. You're being forced to do it, and this also puts you as a target of naivety, basically, because like, oh, this person, he does whatever he's told to do, so we're gonna take advantage of that, so yeah, basically what I'm trying to say is that if you are living in a situation like that, even it doesn't have to be even that extreme, right? Because those extreme experiences can help us deliver it in a very detailed way, like the self-help, I mean. We can deliver it in a very detailed way that can actually help you implement it to your life in every way that you choose, right? Because like you don't have to come from like that bad of a neighborhood, and like you don't have to be dealing drugs. Like I wasn't dealing drugs, I was just there, I was just like watching, but Wallace was actually dealing drugs. I'm out of water and my mouth is so dry, so I'm gonna finish this right now. It's been 2 hours. It's a long story. It's been a long story. But yeah, what I want you to know is that there is help out there. And yeah, the police, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry to say that, but they don't help, and they didn't help me, and they wouldn't help anyone. And I'm sorry, I don't want to put like a stigma on the police or whatever, that they aren't helping. But like I said in a previous video of mine, like even if you are a police officer and you want to do good and you want to serve justice, your colleagues are probably not gonna let you do that, because the police is not driven by justice, it's driven by their paycheck. so so yeah, they don't give a fuck about you. They have a stigma about you, exactly like they have a stigma about me, and they think we are better off staying in that neighborhood other than just like migrating into society like normal people, because like they don't really benefit from that, so whatever. um so even if the police doesn't help you, don't feel lost, right? Because you can do it by yourself. I know it sounds really difficult and really harsh, but this is the reality, right? The reality is harsh, and if we don't accept the reality for what it is, it's gonna attack us, right? And I mean, if your life is already attacking you, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal, oh, so life's gonna attack me a little more, like fuck it, you know what I mean? I already have nothing to lose, like I said in the beginning of this video. But I do feel like, like I really do believe in you. Like I want you to go out, like I want you to do something good with yourself, to like feel fulfilled. Like I want you to fulfill your purpose. Like I want you to be safe, and I want you to be happy and like live healthily, and I care about you. I don't know you, but like I care about you because I I mean, me and you, yeah, perhaps like our bodies are separate, but our consciousness is the same. We share the same consciousness, the collective consciousness. We are the sirens, man. I cannot with those sirens. Can you like die later? Ugh, damn it. So like what I'm saying is that I want you to get out of it just like I want myself to get out of it. You know what I mean? Like cuz you don't deserve staying there unless you make yourself be deserving of staying there, which you can always repent. Always. What is repent? I mean, for yourself. What do you think you did wrong? And how can you repent in the way that makes you feel a bit better with like who you are as a person, right? Like it's not about religion, it's not about like what people think of you, it's how you see yourself, because it's a very common thing in alchemy that you can change and transmute through love, and you cannot, and acceptance, and you cannot do this through shame and like fear. You cannot, because fear is what stops the transformation and transmutation. So if you, it doesn't matter what your background is, it doesn't matter where you came from, right? Because also right now I'm reading this book by Victor Hugo, and like let me look up what it's called in English. Okay, in French is Les Miserables, whatever. Yeah, don't know French, but it's basically like the like miserables of life, basically. Like it's the poor people of life, basically. It's just people that life fucked them over so much. Like, and in this book, I'm gonna finish like the video with this analogy. In this book, it starts with like a prisoner, a released prisoner. His name is Jean. And he's like went to prison for thieving, for theft, because he was a kid to like a 7 sibling family, whatever, and he he stole bread from like a local store because he couldn't work or whatever. Like, he was also very young, I don't know, whatever, and they caught him and they sent him to prison, and he tried to escape prison, which made them send him into like the kind of like slavery version of prison, like slavery part of your time in prison, which is like the how do you call it, like labor. Yeah, it's labor, basically, that you have to like work every day as like and do like hardcore labor every day as a prisoner, you know, because that's your sentence, basically, to do that, you know. And once you go there and do that, you know, to the labor camp, you are stigmatized forever, like, you know. And he even like at the beginning accepts the stigma, and he's like, well, he's in that victim mentality of like, first of all, like he is kind of like a victim, you know, because everywhere he goes, he's like, I just got released out of prison, and he's like, oh my god, thank god, you know, I got released out of prison, you know. Gets money from all of the hard labor that he did there, and he can actually pay for like to go sleep somewhere in a motel or something. And motel, like, they existed then, you know what I mean, you know, like a tavern or shit, you know. So and every place at the beginning, like they are like, oh yeah, cool, whatever, and then like they actually take a good look at him and realize he is Jean, like that person, and they just don't want to give him to stay there anymore because he's dangerous. That's how they feel. But all he did was to steal something. He never killed anyone. He never, you know, he just stole. Also because he couldn't afford bread for his little siblings, you know what I mean? Like, that's fucked. So he, long story short, basically he like dropped his identity and became like Father Midland, which is like an alter ego of his, and he became like this very, very good person, generous person, and he made this factory of like black stoned jewelry and shit like that, you know, that find like a very very non-expensive way to like create those jewelry and whatever, and which expanded the market, shit like that, you know, and made him really rich, and also made him be able to give jobs to many people. But, you know, if he wouldn't have like put his old identity, you know, an old perception of his identity aside, you know, first of all, if he wouldn't accept that this is his identity, right, and put it aside, because at one moment he kind of like is explained in the book is like glaring at himself in the third person and just being like, yo, I am what they're saying I am. It's exactly me. I cannot run away from this. It's me, you know. I must change this. I want to change this, you know. And when he wanted to change this, because he saw exactly what he was, he couldn't like escape from it, right? From the reality, basically. So he changed. Only that way he could change, you know. Also he never mind, you get what I'm saying, basically, you know, because like, and then thanks to that, not only could he become like the mayor, he literally became the mayor of Monterey. Like, also he made so many other people be able to afford a living, be able to like have a job, be able to like, I don't know, he saved so many people because like he knew like from the misjustice of police and shit like that, because he's a mayor, and like um when he came from that injustice, he knows how injustice looks like, so he's there to like stop injustice, basically, you know because he accepted on himself, first of all, his old identity, and he accepted that he has another identity, which is serving the highest good and the highest whatever, um and he went with that, I mean, like, he was very dedicated to being Father Midlen, basically, so also because if he was going by Jean still, like, he wouldn't be able to become the mayor, because there's a hardcore stigma. So what I'm saying is that it's not the 1800s, okay? It's not the 1800s anymore. So what I'm saying is that even if you feel there will be a stigma around you where you came from, or like, nobody's gonna take you seriously, fuck that, right? Fuck that. All that matters is for you to take yourself seriously. All that matters is for you to want to change, to want to do something with this tragic backstory. Like I always say that it could be like a tragic moment of your hero's journey, or it could be your villain arc. You are the one to choose. And I know villain arc sounds like cute and sexy, whatever, but like, a villain arc, the way people use it today, is not what it means. Villain arc is the story that made you a villain. A villain, a villain it's also its own villain, like Scar, like Maleficent, like they're their own villain. Like, they're not happy, they're not content with their life, and they always lose at the end, because truth prevails, because God prevails. Whatever you believe God is, it's a metaphor for like the highest good, whatever, the power of the cosmos and how things work, at the end of the day. Because being the villain is operating on very low vibration, and you can be like very good and very precise at that low vibration, but that's all there is to it. And I know you're destined for greatness. I know, instead of like operating through your like root chakra, I know you can operate from your third eye and crown chakra. That's why you're watching my videos. That's why you're here with me right now on this fucking hero's journey. That's why we're healing together, right? So we can create a better place for our kids and ourselves to live in, right? And yeah, this world is gonna destroy itself anyway, but like, this is not what it's about. It's gonna destroy itself because this is just how the way things work, creation and has end, in this like 3-dimensional world that we live in. So without rambling too much, I'm actually getting hungry and I want to make myself food. I am proud of you also for like wanting to, because if you didn't want to like help yourself or whatever, you wouldn't stick for this long. So I'm very proud of you for taking that step, that leap, because if anyone is gonna do it, it's you. It's just you. Nobody else could do it for you. So I'm very like proud of you for like being so strong and so like ambitious, like to wanting to do this. Like, I believe in you. I know you can, right? Because if I could, you can too. If so many people could, you can too. And don't believe what your family tells you, what your people in your environment tell you, because I was told all of those things too, but like that didn't stop me from knowing, having Dick, as Oracle Bay 444 says, which means deep inner knowing, having a deep inner knowing, aka Dick, of what you want from this life and who you really are, because outside circumstances don't control who you are on the inside. It should actually be the other way around, right? If all they do is shape your outside experience through your inner experience, right? Because it's all about your perception and how you perceive things and how you alchemize them, right? So I'm gonna shut the fuck up now. Go drink some water because my mouth is dry from all this fucking bullshitting that I just spout, all that nonsense. Actually, it made a lot of sense. To me, I don't know. Probably people are gonna like listen to this video and be like, "What the fuck? Like, what the fuck?" I know, but that's life, man. That's life. And if you are a person who is just like not aware of those areas of life, I would really recommend you read this book, or like Anno Dracula if you're into like more like fantasy things and like less realistic things, because this is like way too realistic. And Anno Dracula by Kim Newman is, first of all, a goth classic you must read. Second of all, it has like an element of fantasy that helps you disconnect it from your world, so it doesn't feel as personal and as traumatizing, but it actually serves the same truths, just in different ways, So I would definitely recommend you read those books, or like maybe watch The Wire, just understand like how other people live, and maybe that would help you be a justice warrior, like in a sense of like not social justice warrior in a sense of just like, oh my god, he, him, they, them, cancel JK Rowling's and shit like that. I don't know, like, because this is just like identity politics. This is not gonna help anyone in the long run, right? Maybe your own little interests is gonna help, but like that's it. People are gonna still fucking kill each other, dealing drugs and like doing gangster wars, while you're like being all like, oh my god, cancel JK Rowling's, yeah, free Palestine, yeah. People are gonna still like fucking die in Palestine. People are gonna still like you, because you're not doing anything, bitch. You're just like tweeting, okay? So maybe perhaps this is for you, people who actually want to help lower marginalized groups of like society. Take action that actually will help. Ask the people what they want. Don't just decide what they want because you know best, because you're outside of that thing and they don't know, because you know how this is fucking oppressing those people. You're like, oh, they don't know what they want. They're gangsters, they don't know. I know what they need. Like, that's stupid. Like, that is so stupid of you to assume that. Like, like also with the whole free Palestine thing, like, ask the people in Palestine, in Gaza, whatever, what they want. And actually they're screaming in the top of their lungs, like, free us from Hamas, they are doing that, but you guys don't really care, that's what I'm talking about. Like, people who actually need your help and you want to like be perceived in society like you're helping them, hate you because you're not helping anyone but yourself and your image. So perhaps this video helped you realize that life is much deeper than that, and human experiences are more deeper than that. And while you sit behind your little fucking keyboard, right, people like me, people like I described in this video, are fighting to survive, and they don't give a shit about you, right? They will put a bullet in your head the moment you walk by, because they don't give a shit about you. You know why? Because you don't give a shit about them. Let's be real. Let's be honest. You're like, no, I do care. Where? Show me. Actions. Not tweets, not articles that you wrote. Show me actions that you did to help save these people. Show me actions that you did to help make the system less of a fucking horrible nightmare for these people. Show me. And then we'll have a conversation. Okay. I think I covered literally everything I've ever wanted in this video, and I'm very happy about that. So I'm gonna wake my cat by stepping up. Sorry, babe. Look how cute he is. So I'm gonna say goodbye while you're seeing my little cat, how cute he is. Yeah. So goodbye. Aww, cutie. just gonna say goodbye, and I love you all, and I do believe in you, and I know you can succeed, and I know you are destined for greatness. And if you are, again, a person who didn't come from a background like that, and this is your first time hearing about things like that, maybe perhaps you are also destined to help those people. Perhaps this is why you're seeing this. So I believe you can help people. I believe we as a society can uplift each other, and also heighten the vibration and frequency of this earth, of this planet, to create better things for our future, for the future of the whole world, because we are one with the universe. There's no separation here, only in the 3D it's separation. But me and this couch, me and my cat, we are made out of the same fucking energy. Yep, you see, he agrees. He is my familiar, so cute. He's like, yeah, he's a Pisces too. I love Pisces. Anyway, I actually have a lot of Pisces in my chart. Anyway, goodbye. I love you. I'm gonna go eat.